Let's start again, shall we? Buggered that up, didn't I? Back in 2022, in December, I bought this Giant TCR. I've done somewhere in the region of 20,000 miles on this thing, so I think it's about time I did a long-term review on it. Not only the things that I have done to it, some of which are pretty obvious, some less obvious, but then other changes I've made and the development of the bike as I have had it. Let's dive into it, shall we? So Giant advertised the TCR as a race bike. I mean, I can't really argue with that. The geometry set up in, well, this is a little bit more aggressive than standard, but the geometry of a TCR is a race bike. I obviously use this as an endurance bike as well. I use it as an all-round bike, basically. It's my summer bike. It was a first step up for me. My previous bike before this was a Airborne Valkyrie. It was a titanium Audax bike with a much more relaxed geometry, so it initially took me quite a while to adapt my body position and riding style to match the bike. I really wanted something at the time that was faster and less flexible. I wanted something where I could put less effort in to go faster, because, you know, I was trying to ride with people all the time and having to put a fair effort in to keep up. It suits me, I think, perfectly, which is handy considering the amount of miles I do on this thing. I do get quite a lot done. I'm covering at about 2,000 kilometers a month at the moment in my training. So when I bought this, the advertised recommended retail price was £4,999 in this spec. There's a range of this, which I will get to in a moment. Fortunately, at the time, thanks to Giant, I had some help from them. I was talking to their marketing company regarding the charity challenge that I did back in 2023. They gave me a bit of a discount, so I ended up paying £3,679 for that. It was a brilliant change. I was originally going to get a Defy. It allowed me an upgrade, which basically gave me a better frame and power meters. So as standard in this spec, it is an Advanced Pro 1. You can get an Advanced Pro 0, 1 or 2. Depends on spec levels. Obviously you've got a normal disc and you've got SL. Again, we'll come on to that in a moment. As standard with this, you get Shimano Ultegra 11-speed mechanical, 5236 at the front and then 1130 at the rear. Hydraulic discs and Giant Power Pro dual-sided crank power meters. Took me 4 times to say that. That was a game changer for me. I wanted power meters to step up my training, to be a bit more nerdy with the numbers. Giant state the weight of this from factory without pedals, bottle cages or a mount at 7.4 kilos. This can vary hugely depending on the model that you get. You can go from the Giant disc, which is a lot cheaper, that's £2,700, which is something like 8.4 kilos, all the way down to the Advanced Pro 0 SL, I think. Don't quote me on that. That is 6.4 kilos, but it's £11,000. It's a huge difference. So this for me fit really well in the middle. It was bang on my price point. Initially I did the usual. I put Shimano SPD SL pedals on, which were fantastic. These have been changed, running through the changes in a minute. As well, you'll see I've still got these on. I think I initially went for some Lifeline bottle cages, but I've since changed to these Elite Vico Carbon. They were really cheap. I think they cost me £16. 2 of them, they grip like nothing else. It really helps on the Lake District and Dales descents and our terrible road surfaces. I have never lost a bottle out of one of these, descending at ridiculous speeds over bumpy surfaces. Rate them really highly, especially with the cheapest bottles you can find. Basically, the bike stayed as standard like this until after my 2023 challenge, where I cycled through every county in England. And the first thing I did was I changed the saddle out for this S-Works Power Carbon. It turned out that the standard approach saddle that came with the bike was a little bit too wide for my sit bones, and I was having quite serious saddle sores at the end of the week. Not surprising really, considering the amount of mileage I was doing. This wasn't a particularly cheap upgrade. It was 240 quid, and I bought another one to go on the turbo. I have to train in the same position on the same saddle. It's a thing, needs must. So if we move on to the most obvious change, it's the paint. Yes. The bike was disassembled at Giant Kendal. I sent the frame and forks and stem down to Phil Callow down in Kent, an amazing artist. This was designed by AI. I say AI, it's not AI, I hate that term. I basically said muscular dystrophy UK colours, Mondrian style. It fired me a lot of images back. I sent them to Phil, he did this. You cannot, I'll put some other pictures on now. The metal flake in this really pops. The metal flake was a must, it has to be. It's not a shrinking violet, it's not for hiding in. It's not subtle. Some would say it's not classy. I say it's not classy. Don't care, I love it, it's mine. Obviously I've gone with orange bar tape. This has changed several times. I initially put some Chinelli cork bar tape on, which I really did enjoy. Since then I've moved on to this lizard skins. It's not actually held up that well, the lizard skins. It's filthy, obviously. It's orange, it's going to get dirty quickly, especially wearing gloves when you've done, you know, handling your bike and muck and stuff. But it's rubbing through really quickly. I'm not sure what's coming next, but we'll see. Initially the bike came with the Giant SLR1 wheels. They are a great wheel for the money. They are pretty light. I think they're 1462 grams for a pair. For the price, they're extremely good. Obviously, now I have been running these. You can't tell what they are because I've covered them in stickers. These are the Hunt Aerodynamicist 44s. Hunt very generously sent me these to use up until the end of my challenge. And again, full disclosure, I have the option of either sending them back at the end, de-stickered of course, or I get to buy them at a discounted price. So thanks to Hunt. On those original SLR ones, they came with Giant Gavia course tyres in 28mm, ran these at 82 PSI. I didn't particularly get on with them. They just seemed a bit dead. They felt, numb, I think is the best way to describe them. At the time I thought they were fantastic because I'd upgraded from 25s on the old Axe bike. Since then I've moved from some Continental GP 5000 STRs in 30mm, which dropped the pressure down 10 PSI, which was lovely. I then moved on to a set of Panaracers. I've got a video about that. They were in 32mm in tan wall, obviously. I didn't particularly get on with them either. They seemed a bit slippy. They were quite quick, but they were really poor on puncture protection, and I've since moved back to Conti GP 5000 STRs. These are obviously tan wall, 32mm, run these at about 62 PSI. Lovely. With the Hunt wheels, I've now added Fillmore, reserve Fillmore valves. They seem to do the trick. They're really expensive for what they are. It's like 36 quid for a pair of valves. It seems insane, but they're orange. As I mentioned previously, the original gearing was 1130 at the back. I changed this out initially for a Shimano one, but now I have a Sunrace, which is, I believe, Sturmey Archer owned. I've got a 1134 on the back. This is purely changed out for, well, the gearing is for the Fred Whitten Hills because they are nasty, and I bought a Sunrace one, not a Shimano one, although I do have a Shimano one, because it's black. Match this with a KMC DLC 11 chain. Basically it's an OEM replica, but in orange and black because of aesthetics. Change is lovely. They're not cheap. I'm really fortunate. I get some of my parts supplied by Alex Richardson at Paddock Cycles in Rugby. He gets me my chains. You can buy these pre-waxed now as well, which really helps, although I do have to remove a certain amount of links for it to fit this. Some other changes that aren't immediately obvious. The original bars have been changed out. These I've gone from the standard ones down to a Deadeye Elementi 0 42, which actually measure about 40 centimeters. I don't know why, it's just something that Deadeye seem to do. They suit me again really nicely. I thought I was wider, but I'm relatively narrow here and I sit just lovely. The hoods are really slightly tilted in, again because I like to sit on the bike like that, not square. Yeah. Other obvious change is I've put some heat shrink. That's just heat shrink, coloured heat shrink. It's not paint or anything. That cost a couple of quid, and you know, put it on, heat gun, what have you. I cannot remember if this original stem is normal size. I seem to recall asking for a shorter stem. I can't remember the length of this. Basically, my body composition, I'm just under 6 foot tall. I've got really long legs, really long arms, short torso. So a shorter stem tucks me in quite nicely. It doesn't really make it that much twitchier. That's a bit of a fallacy. That is depending on the whole bike geometry, head and tube angle, stuff like that. Yes, it's obviously a bit more twitchy than a long stem because you get more control, but it's not the end of the world. I mean, people see me wanging this thing down hills. It's not a problem. Cornering is amazing on this thing. It handles really, really well. More recent changes is, well, it's pretty obvious really, Wahoo speed play pedals. Not just that, but obviously I've got a Element Roam V2. That's nothing to do with the bike, of course, and the sensors. They helped me out. I went to a Zwift racing night at a local pub, spoke to Wahoo, and they sent me these. I love speed plays. They're really good. Really easy to clip in and out, double-sided. You can adjust your float between 0 and 14 degrees. I'd recommend that. Again, that's nothing really to do with the bike, but we're going to move on to that any second now. So let's move on to like the review side of the bike itself. I think it's pretty obvious that I adore this thing. I take it out, well, as often as I can. For the first almost 2 years of ownership, it was my going out bike in any weather. Since then, I've made the titanium one back into my winter bike and got it back on the road. So this thing got abused. It got abused. It got ridden in all weathers and obviously needed a fair amount of servicing. I've gone through several cables for both sides, especially the rear mech. It's pulled through a couple of times. That's not a Giant issue. That's a Shimano problem, that was. Just the nipple was pulling through here. I couldn't shift at all. It got stuck in gear a couple of times. You might have seen that on the video that when I was out with Russ, Mike and Aki, other 3 awesome YouTubers, mates of mine. But that was all sorted. I basically rode it to the shop. They fixed it there and then. The Giant shop in Kendal. Awesome boys again. I've had the brakes bled once or twice. Again, I send it in for servicing. I say, this needs doing, that needs doing, not a full thing, because, you know, I keep on top of certain things, I wax the chain, what have you. The brakes have been bled, and I'm already on my 3rd set of brake pads and my 2nd set of rotors now. The first set, basically I burned through just through use. The 2nd set were an absolute black, which were gifted to me by a friend, thank you, Ed. When they got changed out, there were actually chunks missing from them. Don't know if that's me or the bike or what have you, and we're back onto the standard Shimano ones. The rotors I've changed on the SLR ones. They were sent to me, very lightly used. These are obviously brand new ones that I've gone on to the Hunt aerodynamicists. I think the only other thing that I've changed is the jockey wheels. And obviously that's a very easy thing to do. They're really cheap. They just weren't rotating as freely as I liked. And it's a very, 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 very easy and quick job. I cannot wait to get many more miles on this thing done. It is a lovely, lovely thing. I find it extremely comfortable to use. Obviously, I get aches and pains and what have you, but that's to be expected with the amount of mileage I get done. I do get asked if I would change anything for the future, and I don't know. I mean, people say, you know, I could go to Di2, but, you know, it's $1,000. This works. But then other people who have Di2 and have had mechanical just say, don't bother, it's not worth the upgrade. So that's fair enough. Other things I've looked at are deeper wheels, but I live up here in the north. You get a lot of wind. I suppose you get a lot of wind everywhere, but I think something around a 44mm like these is a really good compromise. It works well. I mean, the SLR ones that come with it are 42s. There's not much difference. They handle the crosswinds well. These handle it even better. One more change I'd potentially, I get not envious of, I'd look at integrated bars. I mean, cables are cables. I'd rather we're on the inside for aesthetics because, you know, whatever, but that makes it easier to work on for the guys. Obviously, I've said I give this to Giant Kendal to work on. Integrated everything makes stuff more expensive to work on. So, bit of give, bit of take. What is it? A what or two? I mean, the system together, when you're looking at aero, it does amuse me when people talk about aero. This isn't aero. A bike is a lot more aero than a human. So for the sake of that, you can just make yourself a little bit more aero. It's fine. I'm not sure if I would actually change a great deal else. Like I say, it's a quick bike, it's stiff, you can put the power down. There's no perceived loss of power through anything. It handles superbly well. I cannot wait to just do a lot more miles on this thing. I'm aiming to take it back to Germany hopefully next year, 2026, to do another 24-hour event on it, which just tells you the amount of comfort levels it has. You wouldn't think so, would you? You know, people who don't cycle look at these things and go, God, that looks really uncomfortable. Bikes set up in the right way, like this is set up perfectly for me, are comfortable. Obviously, I had a bike fit with foot to pedal down in Whittlesea near Cambridge, and they've set me up perfectly on it. Funnily enough, that happened the day before, well, the week leading up to my longest ever day on the bike, which is mental. Don't ever do that. But yeah, if you were ever considering one, I would highly, highly recommend a TCR. They're a fantastic bike. They're relatively cheap. They're often overlooked, and I don't understand why. People look at the higher end bikes. For the money, you cannot get much better than this. If you don't have that budget, second hand, there's plenty available, especially rim brake options. If you don't live somewhere with ridiculously steep hills like I do, a rim brake option is a fantastic option. They are amazing frames. The frames do come with a lifetime warranty, as long as you don't custom paint it. That's a previous video, go and look into that one. And the care is genuinely amazing. If you have any more questions, don't hesitate to ask. There's probably something or lots of things that I've missed. Yeah, I'm not very good at reviews. I'll try and do more. I'm bad at scripts. I write a script for this and I keep having to go into my pocket to remember what I've done. I am a bit forgetful. The next thing for me on this is, it might have already happened as far as you're concerned. I've got the Fred Whitten in 3 weeks, and then a mental challenge of 2,220 miles in 15 days on it, which I am really looking forward to, and bricking it at the same time. There is a link to the Just Giving for that. It is a fundraiser for Muscular Dystrophy UK and a bit of a crowdfunder for our son Alex, who needs adaptations to be able to live in a normal way. There's another video on that coming very, very soon as to explaining why it's needed. Like I say, if you've any more questions, any more comments, do get in touch. I'll try and provide as much information as possible, and if I've missed something, I'm sorry. I'm sure it'll be covered. I hope this has been insightful. If you're thinking about getting a TCR, just buy one, they're brilliant.